Hi guys, I'm Kate. I'm an indie artist and producer, and today I want to talk all about writer's block and how you can go about fixing it. So don't get me wrong, like we can all become uninspired at different points, or maybe burnt out is a better way of putting it. I think it's natural for every artist to go through peaks and valleys of getting just spontaneous sparks of inspiration and then going back to feeling like you're not making anything productive when you sit down to do a session. But I do think that working through writer's block is an essential skill and something that can be cultivated if you have a little practice, you're consistent, and you're committed to getting through it. So here are some things that I like to keep in mind. I think the first thing is just to trudge through it, which doesn't really sound like it's helpful, but I think it's easy to use like, oh, I'm uninspired as an excuse to not actually work at your craft or seek out new information. The first thing to keep in mind is that if you start and work on something and put in enough effort, even if it's not your best work, you're gonna learn something new, which may lead to your best work in the future. So if you can get out of the mindset like, I can only work when I get these spontaneous sparks of inspiration, I think it can be really helpful and help you even have more of those sparks of inspiration in the future once you get in the habit of working through the not so fun musician periods. Another thing that I find really helpful is being actually productive just for 10 minutes every day. A lot of it, I think, ends up just being like, you have to get your foot in the door to start being inspired and being creative, being productive. But the key is that you have to go into a session, even if it's just for 10 minutes, and be actually productive. You can't just, and I'm guilty of this, just like play what you've already created over and over again and just listen to it. That's not going to do anything. You have to come into what you're creating with intention on a consistent basis. I find a lot of times once I'm there, I'm like, I'm already here. And now I'm getting all jazzed up. I end up staying for longer. So consistency with anything regarding growth is key. In terms of like songwriting specific block, which I think is different sometimes from like music production block. Some things that help me are going to rhyme zone, or also just not judging myself. I think I used to get so in my head like, oh, I wanted this to sound like this artist or this artist, but all my words sound dumb. But I've gotten a lot better at being nice to myself, especially when I'm first getting out the words. For me, it's helpful to think of it as like two different hats. So like your first stage, you're just like being stream of consciousness, getting whatever you feel out on paper, just writing it all out and not worrying about how good it sounds or the flow of it, whatever, just getting it all out. And then you can go back later and be more nitpicky and edit and take out certain words. So I think separating that process into like two different steps can help you be a lot more productive overall. In terms of production block, I think there's a lot of exercises that can help if you're not able to work through it on your own. Something that helps me sometimes is I'm always inspired by other people's music. So sometimes I'll just pull a reference track into a session, which I do anyway, but just, pull it into a blank session and try and see what that artist did and try and mimic it. You'll naturally make it your own and filter things to make it your own creation, but it can be a really helpful starting point if you just are overwhelmed and in a creative rut. You can also try making a song with just vocals or starting with just vocals. I do this a lot. I love vocal layers and manipulating like vocal chops, so this is particularly inspiring for me. You can also go to a site like freesound.org, download a bunch of random samples, and then just force yourself to use them. Sometimes having those creative constraints can really help you get going. Also just like follow a YouTube tutorial in a genre that you're not familiar in or you are familiar in. There's so much information and places for inspiration on the internet, so be sure to reap those to your advantage. And then I think the last method is collaborate with a friend. If you don't know any musicians in your area, or you can't because of the current state of the world, there are plenty of, like, there's a Reddit forum where I've found people to work with. But sometimes having another person who you're accountable to can help you be more productive because you don't want to be a jerk. And lastly, don't give up, because you will work through it, and once you learn to work through it, it will become easier over time to work through it. So that is all good news. Anyway, I hope you found some helpful tips in here. Let me know if there's anything else you'd like to learn, and please, if you have music somewhere, please tell me about it in the comments. I would love to check it out. Always happy to support other indie artists. Have a great day and see you later. Bye bye.